I am in the biggest reading slump of my life. It's not that I haven't been reading, it's that every book I read is just okay. Nothing is holding my attention, and nothing is interesting. So I am turning to my favorite authors to help out, and this video won't end until I get a 5-star. So I did this video, I think like a year and a half ago, and I'm pretty sure in that video I said I'm never doing this challenge again. I thought I knew what I liked, but clearly I'm wrong, and I think I hate this challenge. But I think it was the way that I went about the challenge last time, where I was sort of making it even harder for myself by only reading authors that I've never read from before. I think that was my mistake, because it was very hard for me to predict what a 5-star would be if I've never read the author. So this time, I'm correcting my mistakes, and hopefully this will go better. I will only be reading books from 5-star authors. So can my favorite authors give me a 5-star book? We will find out. First, to tackle this challenge, we have Delilah S. Dawson, the author of Bloom, which is my favorite book of last year. She has a new book that just came out called Guillotine, which is also like a horror novella that is pitched as Ready or Not meets The Menu, which two movies that I love. Ready or Not is in my top 3 favorite horror movies ever, and I also loved The Menu, so anything compared to both of those I'm very excited for. It's a very short book, so I think I can read it quickly. Also, I'm very much matching the vibes of Guillotine today. I don't have a physical copy with me. If I love it, I will be purchasing a copy, but I wanted to match the vibes of the book. I finished Guillotine. I've been saying it so much that it now doesn't sound like a word. Anyways, I finished it. It was a very quick book. I read it in like maybe an hour and a half. I don't know that I liked it. The more that I think about it, the more I don't think I liked it. I think this was the type of book that would be really good as like a movie or like a limited series. It would be very fun. It would be in the like style of like the movies that I already mentioned, Ready or Not, The Menu. Also like Knives Out, Glass Onion. So I feel like it would make a fun movie. As a book, however, it just like missed the mark. Basically what it's about is this woman who is dating this man purely to get close to his mother, because his mother is a very famous woman in fashion, and the main character wants to work in fashion, so she wants to get in with his mom. So she's dating this man who's horrible, by the way, which at the beginning I was like, yes, girl boss. So the guy invites her to his family's like private island, and when they get there, immediately it's red flags, weird vibes, very weird vibes. She has to sign this like huge contract that's basically saying like, if anything happens to her, she waives her right to emergency services. She has to give up her phone. She can't talk about anything that happens on the island. She can't talk to any of the staff that works there. Super weird. And then, all of a sudden, people in her boyfriend's family start getting murdered in really crazy ways. I will say the kills in this book were really cool. They were giving Saw vibes, with just like every kill was like more unhinged than the previous. Those were very, I don't know, fun to read about. I think the biggest issue with this book is that the main character was the wrong choice. I think we were following the wrong character, because the main character is just a bystander through the entire book. She doesn't do anything until the very end, and at that point it's just too late. The whole book is just her happening to be there and witnessing things that are happening, but she's never actively doing anything, and that got really annoying, and she really didn't have like any personality. There was another character who I think if that person had been the main character, oh, this could have been so good. This could have been so good. Because there was another character who was like actively doing things, actively part of the plot, progressing the plot, doing interesting things. The main character was just watching. She was just a spectator. And so because we were reading from her point of view, it made it feel like we weren't in the action. Like as the reader, we weren't in the action, and it took a lot of the tension away also. I also just think it was too short. 20 pages in, basically, you're at the island and people are dying. It needed more of a build-up to make the action feel like it had a payoff. For example, in Bloom, I feel like Bloom is such a slow burn of a book. There's so much build-up and like this natural progression of tension. I think that the climax of that book ends up having such a big payoff, whereas this one's almost the opposite. Like the action starts happening so quickly that there's no payoff, there's no tension. It just didn't work. I think it would make a good movie, but it fell very flat for me. I'm gonna give it 2 stars. Immediately when I finished, I was thinking 3 stars, but the more that I talk about it, the more I'm like, there was a lot of potential, but the execution was just horrible, so 2 stars. Unfortunately, Miss Delilah Dawson did not bless me with another 5-star book. It's okay though. Every author can only make perfection happen once. Moving on, I think I'm gonna read another kind of shorter book. We're gonna go with my next favorite author, and that is Seanan McGuire, also known as Mira Grant. Here's all the books that I read from Seanan McGuire, Mira Grant. She's written so many books under so many pen names, and I love them all. So there's this one horror book written under Mira Grant that I've been wanting to read for a long time called Final Girls. And every time I read the synopsis, it sounds like an episode of Black Mirror, where there's basically like a company that has turned therapy into horror simulations. So you go into this simulator that makes it feel like you're experiencing your worst fear, and then you're supposed to like confront the fear and overcome it, and then when you come out of the simulation you're supposed to be healed. That sounds very terrible, so that's what we're gonna read next. Also, I love the cover, amazing. I just finished listening to Final Girls on audio. This one I enjoyed. It's not like a favorite, I wasn't obsessed with it, but I really liked the direction that the story went into. It really did feel like an episode of Black Mirror. So like I said, this one is about a company that comes up with this technology to do these horror simulations to get people to face their biggest fear, and it's supposed to be like the next craze in therapy. And a journalist is researching them, coming to like interview. She's a skeptic, and so in order to show her the technology, they put her in a simulation. That's all I'm gonna say about it. There's a lot of other things that happen, but I thought it was really, really cool. This is one of those books that I'm like, I think it was perfect for the length that it was, because if it was any longer, I don't know how it would have worked. Actually, something that it reminded me of was that Christina Henry book, Good Girls Don't Die. There were aspects of it that reminded me of that book, and that book is very fun. So I enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna give it like 3.5, 4 stars, but unfortunately, again, Miss Seanan McGuire, Mira Grant did not give me another 5-star. I am striking out. I actually have a section in my bookshelf that are books from 5-star authors. This is that section, like from here over. These are all books from authors that I have given 5 stars. Honestly, like I could read any of these. This one I will skip because I've already tried Delilah S. Dawson. She got one chance for this video and she failed me. Same with Mira Grant. Sorry, Mira, you got one chance, you're out. I'm kind of being drawn to Evocation. But here's the thing about Evocation. This is a gamble. This is a gamble because I do love A Dowry of Blood. This is one of my all-time favorite books. But An Education in Malice, I did not enjoy. So this is a gamble, but I think I'm gonna do it. I think we're gonna pick Evocation. All I know about this is that it takes place in Boston and it follows a secret society of occult magic users. I think there's like a polyamory relationship in here. Ooh. This was inside. I'm assuming that is the main character, David. David. Just seems like such a basic name for a fantasy book, David. Okay, David. I guess I'll start reading about David. I'm continuing reading Evocation today. I did have to switch to physically reading it instead of the audiobook because the audiobook narrator is so bad. I don't know, his choices is just weird. He pauses and like inflects in like weird spots, and it keeps like taking me out of the story. And then his female voice, when he's reading dialogue from women, is not good. It's not good. And there's 3 point of views and only 1 narrator, and I just, I don't like that. So I'm going to continue reading it physically. I am 20% into it right now. So I am about 57 pages in. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with how I'm feeling about it, but as of right now, I am optimistic. I'm hopeful. I think it's interesting. There are a couple things that like writing wise is not my favorite. So I got a little bit nervous because that was my biggest problem with Education in Malice, as I thought the writing was really bad. And then also because this is like modern day fantasy, there's a lot of references to like pop culture-y type of things. Like they talked about Discord, like things like that. And I personally don't like that unless I'm reading like a contemporary romance. I don't want to be reminded about like real world things, but it does take place where I grew up. So that is an interesting aspect to it, which could work in its favor or against it. We will see. So I'm just gonna keep reading and see how far into it I can get today. One thing that I keep thinking about is two of the main characters. Their names are David and Moira, and I just keep thinking about the characters from Schitt's Creek because that's one of my favorite shows. And in Schitt's Creek, David and Moira are mom and son. However, in this book, David and Moira are not mom and son. So it's just odd. It's odd. I keep picturing them and I'm like, wait, that's not what's happening. I'm now like 80 pages into Evocation and I have a better idea of what's going on, what it's about. I can tell you the plot. So basically this takes place in Boston and it's following this secret society of magic users, people who commune with ghosts and spirits and like things kind of like beyond the veil, that vibe, right? So the main characters, David and Reese, are ex-boyfriends. They broke up and Reese is now married to this woman named Moira, who's a tarot card reader and also has some sort of connection to seeing spirits. David and Reese are both kind of in competition to become the next high priest of their secret society. There's a lot of like bad history between the two of them that hasn't really unfolded yet, but there's problems, there's issues. David starts realizing that he's like losing chunks of time, he's like blacking out, he's hearing voices in his head, and he realizes that he's possessed by some sort of demonic evil entity that he doesn't know where it came from or how to get rid of it. So he seeks the help of Reese and Moira to try to figure this out and get rid of whatever is possessing him. As of right now, I like David and I like Moira. I don't know that I really like Reese. He's kind of the middle of this relationship dynamic. I don't love him. David I think is interesting because David is just like not really a great person in like he's kind of got that I'm super rich and can do anything I want and get away with anything mentality, but like there's something underneath it that is interesting. Actually, he reminds me a lot of Lucifer from like the show Lucifer. He has that like vibe, that kind of like he's charismatic but he can just get away with anything and he doesn't really care. And then Moira is obviously like a don't fuck with me kind of woman, which I love that about her. And then Reese is just kind of there right now. He's just there. Maybe I'll like him more as we keep going. We will see. Okay, I think part of the reason why I'm not like obsessed with this book right now is because a lot of it is about like these relationship dynamics, but I'm not feeling either of their chemistry with Reese. And I'm like, why does the straight woman and the gay man have the most chemistry? Their scenes, I'm like, their scenes are electric. Their scenes are great. And it's not romantic? I'm like, what? And then there's scenes with Reese, who they're both like romantically involved with. I'm like, that man? I'm so confused. I'm like, is a plot twist going to be that the gay man and straight woman actually love each other? I guess it hasn't been confirmed that David is like strictly gay. So maybe, but he hasn't made any comments about Moira in like a attracted kind of way, but their scenes together are so good. I don't know, I'm confused. Okay, I have very unfortunate news, you guys. I finished Evocation and I did not like the second half. My fear was correct in that the second half focused more on like building like the romance connection, and I hated Reese. I really did not like him, and he was the center of the romance and he just gave me the ick. So any of that like romantic tension and development, I was just like, no, which sucked because I did really like Moira and David, but the fact that they were both in love with this icky man made me like them less. And then also Moira, she's a bad bitch. She's a bad bitch icon queen, and she was not given the respect that she deserves. I felt like Reese treated her so, I don't know if I would say like badly, but it was kind of like he just like pushed her to the side to build his connection with David, which was weird because throughout the entire first half of the book, he was like, oh my God, my wife, my goddess, the love of my life, my sun and my moon and stars. And then the second half, he's like, actually, I kind of just want my boyfriend. He was giving like the my wife guy, you know those men who are just like so obsessed with talking about their wife and being like, oh, my wife, I love my wife, and they're always the ones that end up cheating. You know who I'm talking about. That's what he was giving. It's definitely not the worst book I've read from her. I liked it better than Education and Malice. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I did like the magic and the plot, and obviously I really liked 2 out of the 3 main characters, but Reese ruined it enough for me that I just could not enjoy it. This video is going horribly so far. My favorite authors, they're not coming through. They're not coming through for me, which means I have like one top favorite author left who could potentially save the day. We're gonna put all of our hopes and dreams on her, and that is the one and only T. Kingfisher. If T. Kingfisher can't give me a 5-star, nobody can. Nobody. So I'm gonna be reading A Sorceress Comes to Call next. This is the very pretty Owl Crate edition. From what I know, this one is a retelling of Goose Girl, which, do I know what Goose Girl is? No. Up until like 5 minutes ago, I thought Goose Girl and Swan Princess were the same thing. And when people said Goose Girl, they were just calling Swan Princess the wrong thing. But no, apparently they're completely different. I am going to start this. Out of all the T. Kingfisher books that I've read, which at this point is like over 10, I don't know, I'd have to count. 3 of her books have been 5 stars for me. And almost all of the rest were like 4 stars. I don't know that I've ever given one of her books under 3 stars. It's possible that I have. I've read so many at this point, I forget what all of them are. I am like halfway into A Sorceress Comes to Call. And I'm really, really loving it. I feel like of all of T. Kingfisher's like fantasy books, because I feel like T. Kingfisher's books, they divide into 2 categories. There's the more fantasy ones, and then there's the horror ones, which the horror ones do have fantasy elements to them. I feel like those are the 2 distinctions. This one is definitely one of her fantasy books, but I feel like it's leaning a little bit more on the horror side, kind of like Nettle and Bone, where I've always said Nettle and Bone reads like a dark fairy tale versus like Sword Heart, Paladin's Grace. Those I would say are more on like, not fully cozy, but like more the cozier side. This one's more dark. So this one we're following a 14-year-old girl named Cordelia, and her mom is an evil sorceress who basically like uses magic constantly to make Cordelia obedient. And she almost like, when she's doing this, it kind of takes over her body and like turns her into a puppet. So she can't move at all on her own free will. It's up to her mom to move her, make her eat, make her drink, make her go to the bathroom. And so her mom does this to her a lot and has a lot of rules, like you can never close the doors in the house, she can never leave, like all of these crazy things. And her mom is really trying to catch a billionaire. She's trying to get that bag. She's trying to make that money. So she's like kind of conning her way into becoming this very wealthy man's wife. It's very much giving like Regency vibes, like the setting of the world feels Regency. So they go to live with this very wealthy man and his sister, who is, I think they said she's in her like 50s or 60s. Immediately, this woman clocks the mom and is like, there's something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you. I got my eyes on you, bitch. So she's watching the 2 of them like a hawk. And she starts to notice that the daughter, Cordelia, is acting strange, is scared of her mom. So they kind of form like a little friendship. And I assume at some point they're gonna team up together to take her mom down. And yeah, I really, really like it. It has a very fun cast of characters. It actually clicked in my brain. T. Kingfisher's books, to me, feel like a Tim Burton movie. Like, they feel like Coraline. They have that vibe where it's like very creepy, dark, but there's something comforting and cozy about it, even when it is dark. And I just imagine this book in like the Tim Burton style. In my brain, that's what I'm picturing. The same thing was with like Nettle and Bone, What Moves the Dead. All those books to me are in the style of Tim Burton. Right now, I am feeling 5-star vibes. I still have half of the book to go, but if it continues the way that it is right now, I feel like it will be 5 stars. Also, I do have to say, I think that the cover and a lot of the artwork for this book, obviously this isn't the original cover, but a lot of the artwork that I've seen for this book very much plays up this like cutesy horse, and you're like, oh, she's gonna have this best friend who's a horse. Love that. No, get that out of your mind. That's not what happens. She is not best friends with this horse. Just get that out of your mind, because I went into it thinking, oh my god, horse bestie. No, 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 not horse bestie. But also, here's the inside artwork. See, it's giving Jane Austen. It's giving Regency. I finished A Sorceress Comes to Call, and I really loved this. I really, really did. I think for the sake of this video, I'm counting this as a 5-star. I've been going back and forth all day of like, is it 4.5? Is it 5? I think because I've read so many T. Kingfisher books at this point, to me, like her books that I have given 5 stars, I actually think are like above 5 stars. They're like 6-star, but I don't really do that. So I'm comparing this to those 5 stars, when like if I was comparing this to other 5 stars I've given, yes, it's 5 stars. I'm just gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I really loved this. I feel like it combines a lot of what I love. It's like a dark fantasy fairy tale, but it has like cozy Regency vibes to it. There's quirky cast of characters. Usually when I read a new one of her books, I do an updated ranking. So let's update my ranking. I'll pull out all of my T. Kingfisher books that are back here in my T. Kingfisher collection. These are all of the ones that I've read so far. Oh wait, oh my god, I'm missing something. I was missing this one because it was on my other shelf. Here's all the T. Kingfisher books that I've read so far. So at the bottom, we have, oh my god, do I even have a copy? Oh, I left it. I left my least fave back there. I just always forget she exists. This is the only one that I've ever not liked. I think these two, I gave both of these 3 stars, 3.5, like somewhere in that range. Then these two, I gave 3.54. So these were like 3 to 3.5. These are 3.5 to 4. Then these 3 are all in the 4-star range, very close to 5 stars. I might have given this one 5 stars on my reread. The first time I read it, I gave 4 stars, but all of these were so good. This is Paladin's Grace, Bryony and Roses, and then Thornhedge. And then these are my elite ones. These are the, not even just 5 stars, but like all-time favorite books. The Hollow Places, Swordheart, and Nettle and Bone. So I think A Sorceress Comes to Call. I think she falls somewhere in with these books, this stack. I don't know exactly where. For now, I'll just put it on top. And hold on, if I can hold all these books, oh my god. See, I'm getting to the point where I've read too many that I can't actually hold the books up for a ranking, but this is my loose, updated ranking. It's so heavy. Take a look, take a screenshot. Now we're putting it down. So that is gonna be the end of this vlog. If you made it to the end of this vlog, leave me, not a horse emoji. Let's do a goose or a duck for these beautiful sprayed edges. Leave me a little goose. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and check out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!